Of the many critiques levied against the millennial generation, one of the most prevalent is their inability to put down our cell phones. While cell phones are an integral part of our collective daily lives, many Americans don't understand the steps required or sacrifices made in the name of cell phone construction. The most infamous of these examples, according to the Daily Mail, of January 25th, 2014, is the notorious iPhone factory Foxconn, who had to reinstall their suicide nets after multiple suicide attempts by workers in just 3 months. Unfortunately, iPhone and Foxconn are just two of the many areas where people suffer in the name of cell phone construction. Attempting to break this cycle is Boss Fan Able and his new cell phone product, Fairphone. Fairphone is a fair trade smartphone that works towards putting people, but more specifically their workers, first. The creators of Fairphone wanted to help address issues of unethical cell phone construction around the world and support the people who make our phones. Fairphone is not any different than the phones currently on the marketplace today, except it only costs $350 compared to iPhone's $800. No one is harmed in the making of your phone, and they offer easy do-it-yourself tutorials to fix your broken phone. You also don't have to get a new one as soon as your contract is over in 2 years, because they're designed to last for at least 5. Fairphone is a compassionate phone for humanitarian, conscious consumers. So today, we'll be looking at the philosophies behind Fairphone, how these philosophies are being applied, and finding the implications that Fairphone's release has in the electronics marketplace as a whole. Fairphone began in 2010 as a campaign within the Amsterdam company WAG, as they sought to create the world's first conflict-free, fair trade smartphone. Their philosophy is simple: to protect workers, to educate the public. First, Fairphone was created to protect workers throughout the supply chain. Fairphone began with Boss Fan Able, the founder and CEO, who wanted to change the relationship between people and their products. After learning of the atrocities associated with cell phone construction, Fan Able sought to not only better working conditions for workers around the world, but change how things are made. Ultimately, at Fairphone, they seek to open up supply chains and solve social problems. As a company, they believe in conflict-free, fair resources that put people first. This dedication to a phone that puts people first also greatly influences the second key philosophy of their work: education of consumers. Second, at Fairphone, they use a smartphone as a storytelling device to reconnect consumers with their products. When they originally began the company in 2010, their primary focus was on unveiling the story of the atrocities that were unfolding to miners in the Congo. But since then, they have broadened their reach by talking not only about the mining aspect of cell phones, but about the entire cell phone process, from mining to manufacturing, and finally recycling of our technologies. Now that we have a better understanding of the philosophies behind Fairphone, let's examine how these philosophies are being applied in terms of construction and education. First, Fairphone effectively practices what they preach in terms of the construction of their cell phones. On their website, last accessed January 28, 2014, it stated that they will only use minerals that are mined from conflict-free mines and provide alternatives to current mining practices. In one cell phone, you can find approximately 40 different minerals. The vast majority of these minerals can be mined and sourced in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where people die over these minerals every day. According to the Boston Globe, on November 27, 2014, when the Congo Civil War broke out in 1994 over these minerals, it has since become the world's deadliest conflict. pitting neighboring governments and dozens of local warlords against each other in a free-for-all over the immense profits to be made in Eastern Congo mines. By avoiding conflict mines altogether, Fairphone not only promotes healthier working environments, but also empowerment for workers by paying them fair wages as well as supporting their local communities. However, Fairphone's philosophies don't just apply to their mining aspect of their cell phones. It also extends to their manufacturing field, because Fairphone will only work with manufacturers who strive to put their workers first. Also only working with manufacturers who are willing to work on environmental and social issues. Second, another area where Fairphone strives to apply their philosophies is in terms of education of the public. On their website, as well as in their product literature, they lay out for the public not only what goes into their cell phones, but also who puts cell phones together and what happens to our cell phones once they're disposed of. By showing people the full cycle of electronics, they're helping us to make more informed decisions about the products we buy, and ultimately, they're striving to change the way that people purchase and dispose of technology. Now that we've seen the philosophies behind Fairphone, as well as the applications and implications of this revolutionary product, let's examine how these implications affect the entire electronics industry. First, the emergence of Fairphone has sent a red flag to other cell phone companies that they need to raise their standards. According to the Utne Reader of January 2014, it states that the emergence and adoption of a fair trade technology will put pressure on the entire industry to clean up their act. I think we can both agree that cell phones and technology will never go away. They will only keep growing and expanding. But Fairphone possesses the potential to show the real-world consequences of our consumerism. It might ultimately help nudge the electronics industry to take note and follow suit. Second, in our society today, having the coolest and newest technologies is valued higher than having ethical or sustainable ones. According to the spring 2008 issue of the Public Relations Journal, it stated that in our society today, we use technology as a form of social capital. This makes it very difficult for new startup electronics companies, especially small cell phone companies like Fairphone, to compete with the Apples, Samsungs, and LGs of the world. Ultimately, if Fairphone cannot brand their product as a new, cool, and hip technology, they will not gain the social capital necessary within society to be able to grow their company or to share their message. Third, even though the philosophies and practices of Fairphone are beneficial for miners in the Congo, the job for mining for these minerals is still extremely dangerous. While Fairphone does help to provide better working hours and mandate certain safety regulations to ensure the safety of their miners, more work still needs to be done to ensure these workers' rights and welfare. According to the Washington Post, on November 22, 2014, in 2010, Congress passed the U.S. Financial Reform Bill called the Dodd-Frank Act. This act required U.S. companies to audit their supply chains to ensure that they're not using conflict minerals in their products. However, this legislation signed by President Obama over 4 years ago has been unfolding at a glacial pace, marked by lack of political will, corruption, and bureaucratic and logistical delays. Fairphone possesses the unique opportunity for consumers to voice not only their legislative support for these miners, but also their economic. I think we've seen today that more work still needs to be done to ensure the rights and wages of workers around the world. And Fairphone is just one small part of that. So today, we look at the philosophies behind Fairphone, as well as the applications and implications of this revolutionary product. Fairphone is far from a perfect technology. If this taught us anything, We learned today that ethical and sustainable practices don't have to begin at the recycling of our electronics, but rather, these practices can be promoted in our purchasing power.